your muscles are aching and your breath is a little more ragged and maybe your heart is pounding a little bit more, you know deep down that you must and you will finish that race. And I reckon that is where we are with our polio campaign. The end banner is clearly in our sights. We are especially grateful for the dedicated leaders that are joining us on this call tonight. Your presence here is really like a testimonial to your unwavering support and commitment to our polio campaign. In fact, we have over 200 people registered for this session. We have governors, governors nominee, governors elect. We have regional leaders from several zones. We have district foundation chairs, polio chairs, international learning facilitators, district leaders, representing a variety of and a diversity of members. Why? Because we are all focused and we are committed and dedicated to end this devastating disease. Today, we've gathered to hear from some of our senior leaders who will share their expertise and continue to inspire us for this life-changing work. But before then, I just want to acknowledge my fabulous foundation team for Zone 28. We have our assistant coordinators with us. We have Lynn Chand, we have Sandy Char, Diane Fijis, Randy Etima, Hadi Mortada, and Gary Shears, as well as other members of our team, including our Endowment Major Gift Advisor, Carol Tickleman. And also, I want to recognize and say a special welcome to my partner in Zone 32, Eileen Rao, and her foundation team members. Thank you for being with us. So to quote one of our biggest supporters, Bill Gates, this is what he said: polio is pretty special because once you get an eradication of polio, you no longer have to spend money on it. It is just as a gift for the rest of time. Let's keep that in mind as we listen to our session today. And now it's my pleasure to hand this over to Duncan Conrad. Duncan.
Thank you, Ingrid. It's my pleasure to also welcome you and our special guests to this evening's sessions. 40 years ago, we made a promise to the children of the world that we would eradicate polio, and we're very close to doing that. To use Ingrid's analogy, we're quite near the finish line. But like in any race, the difficulty always comes in those last few miles to make that push to complete the race. And what we're attempting to do this evening is to help build the awareness, the advocacy, and the wherewithal to finish that race and to eradicate polio from the world. To help us do that, zones 28 and 32 are very blessed to have some very capable in Polio Now resources that are able to work with the districts. I myself am the in Polio Now lead coordinator, and I have responsibility for the districts in Eastern Canada, Quebec, and part of Ontario. And I work with my fellow Zone 28 coordinators, Ramesh Farish, who handles the Western districts and part of the Washington area, and Aruna Kushik, who handles the central districts and part of Michigan as well. And then we also work with our colleagues in Zone 32, Eric Danu, who handles the eastern districts in that zone, and Randy Wilson in Zone 32, who handles the western districts. Thank you, Ingrid. I'll turn that back to you now.
In Zone 28 and 32, we are fortunate to have a Rotary International director who not only believes in collaboration, but encourages and supports collaborative efforts. And we are grateful for that. Drew Kessler is a senior vice president with the Commercial Real Estate Division and has held numerous leadership roles in his career. Just imagine, in his early 30s, he served as governor of District 7210, and since then has served in various Rotary leadership roles, all the while managing a full-time career. As well, he and his lovely wife, Vicki, are parents to 5 active children, ranging in age from elementary school age to university graduate. A busy household. Despite his very active daily schedule, commitments, and travels, Drew makes himself available to his team, which is commendable and very much appreciated. Drew has just concluded a very successful Learning to Lead Summit, where we raised over $100,000 for the Rotary Foundation. So glad that Drew is here to bring greetings. Drew.
Ingrid, thank you very much. And really kudos and thank you to your team for setting this up. And for all those who are attending and participating, I really come with a thank you. This day for me is always a very special day because it really shows what one idea in this amazing organization can do. We were so fortunate to have one Rotarian stand tall in his club back in 1978, and that's Dr. Benny Santos, and had the idea of immunizing all the children of the Philippines and applying for a foundation grant at the time. And what one movement did was change the trajectory of the world's history. This isn't just a Rotary thing. This is everybody in the world affected by what one individual thought could be possible. And as Duncan alluded to, we made a promise to the children and we are going to see it through. So really it's to show the power of Rotary. When you have an organization like Rotary behind you, literally anything is possible. And it is so great that we are so close to the finish line. And I cannot ever thank you all enough for the continued advocacy, the continued support on an initiative that is going to be monumental. This will be the second time in our world's history that a virus is wiped off the face of the planet. And it's because of Rotary that this is happening. So I don't want to steal any thunder of any of our presenters tonight to talk about statistics or talk about where we're at on the polio effort. Just to simply say thank you. Thank you to all those who are participating tonight. Thank you for all those who are presenting tonight. And most of all, thank you each and every day for what you do in the name of Rotary and to make polio go away. All the best.
Thank you, Drew. This is really, it's an exciting time for all of us. So thank you, and so glad that you're with us tonight. It's now my absolute pleasure to introduce our speaker, Trustee Chair Barry Razin. I came to admire Barry for his inspirational leadership as my Rotary International President in 2018-2019. Barry's governors were known fondly as the Flamingo Governors of Change, and there's a great story to go with that. You'll have to check with Barry or myself or one of the governors of that year if you're interested. Barry and his lovely wife, Esther, call the Bahamas home. Barry retired as president of Doctors Hospital Health System in Nassau after a 38-year career where he saw membership go from, I think, 11 or under 20 to well over 600. I believe he remains as a director of that organization to this day. Barry is a member of the Rotary Club of East Nassau since 1980 and has served many leadership roles within Rotary International, culminating in his world presidency and now as trustee chair of the Rotary Foundation. Barry is also the founder of Hand Wash, which is a collaborative program to bring potable water and sanitation to Haiti. It's a multi-decade project, and I believe well over $2 million are involved. Barry has received many honors from Rotary International and the government of the Bahamas, including the Service Above Self Award and an Officer of the Order of Distinction in the Bahamas. We are truly honored to have Barry with us to bring updates and to share his comments on the current polio campaign. Barry, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. Really appreciate the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to talk to so many members of our organization that are committed to making sure that we do eradicate this horrible disease. What I want to do in the short time I have is to talk a little about my visit to Pakistan, so you can hear directly what's going on in Pakistan and Afghanistan. And then 2 weeks ago, we had an International Polio Plus committee meeting. So I want to talk about that as well. So you can really get where we are as of right now. We know, I'm sure every one of you know, we've had 9 children come down with the wild polio virus so far this year. 9 is too many, okay? I don't even like hearing people say it's 99.9% gone, because it's still there for those 9 children. They only see 100%, and theirs do their families. So we need to be thinking, going forward, let's eradicate 100%. That's where we've got to go. So in visiting Pakistan, Afghanistan, you realize that the outbreaks are really only in one very small area right on the border of the 2 countries. In Pakistan, it's really only in one of 157 districts in the country. So it's very limited. It's not a whole country wide. Same with Afghanistan. 3 in Pakistan, 6 in Afghanistan. Pakistan is doing a lot of amazing work under the leadership of Aziz Memon, current trustee, done an amazing job. He took me to introduce me to some of the key people in the country. I met with the health minister in the city of Karachi. Fantastic person. You have to understand, though, that this is a country that had an election, and now the government is an interim government until the next election. So he may not be there after the next 3 months, but excellent, outstanding. He's a doctor, he understands, he's committed, he's making sure we continue our job. From there, we went to meet the federal health minister in Islamabad, and same kind of thing. He's a doctor, he's interim, but he is committed to making sure that we get rid of the horrible disease in his country. From there, we went to see the general of the army, who is helping us to protect all of our health workers in the country. And he told me directly, he has committed 80,000 troops to make sure that our health workers are safe, no matter where we go, even into the most difficult areas in the country. So, and he said he has declared polio a national emergency, and will do everything in his power to make sure that we can reach every single child. We cannot have any children who are missed with the vaccines, and we will make sure it happens. So we went to the border. The buses continue bringing in people from Afghanistan to Pakistan, and every bus stops so that the polio workers can get on board and vaccinate all the children under 5. We may change that to under 10, because our last child with polio was actually 14 years old. But right now, still, it's every child under 5. I got on the bus, and I can tell you, the families are more than willing. They hold out their child to you, and they ask you to please give that drop. And I'll never forget the smile on one of the father's faces. Usually it's the mother, but it was the father holding the child, knowing that Rotary has just saved his child from that horrible disease. Also in Pakistan, they're going house to house. They're making sure they don't miss any children by going house to house, excuse me, and right on the house itself, in chalk, they will note whether or not there's any case of flaccid paralysis in that house, so that they know where to go back to. So well organized. They keep journals that are absolutely unbelievable, and then they put all the journal information into the computer, so they have an incredible log of every single day what they do. That one border I mentioned with the bus stop, last year, just at that one location alone, they did 900,000 vaccinations. That's, to me, incredible. Saying that, this month, what is this month? This is October, yes. This month, they immunized 44 million children in Pakistan. They had a national immunization day. The army was out. 300,000 health workers were out to make sure that we got to every single child. Next month, they're going to do a sub-national immunization day in the difficult area, that one area I mentioned in the in the zone that really is the one that has the challenges. And they can do another one in December. So we're really targeting the problem area now that we've covered all the children in the country. And let's talk about the health workers, because I think they really need to be recognized greater. There's a young lady by the name of Marjana. She's 26 years old. She has 2 children. Her responsibility is to immunize 84 children in the mountains of Pakistan. In the winter, she climbs in the snow to reach each one of the houses in the mountain, and they could be a kilometer apart. And guess what? She feels guilty that she can't do more children with that job. She and the others like her are the heroes that are going to make sure that we do get to 0. Have a great admiration, and we should all respect and say thank you to all those health workers. Another health worker got hit by a train last month. Guess what? The government, working with Rotary, has him now on a pension. He's lost 2 legs, and he's come back to work in the office to help us to deal with all the data that we gather. That's commitment. That's a love for his country that he wants to make sure he continues to do everything possible to make his country get rid of this horrible disease. So Pakistan, working hard, major crisis that they recognize, and they're going to make sure it happens. Excuse me. In Afghanistan, not quite as easy, but still there's only 6 children with polio, the wild polio virus. And their problem is they have so many humanitarian needs there that it's hard to stay focused. We don't have an Aziz Mehman there, although Rotarians are working. The government has stopped house to house and have stopped the women being health workers, and that really sets us back a little. But we haven't stopped. As the head of the World Health Organization said, we are ruthlessly focused on reaching every single child. So that will happen. We just have to have the patience to keep working with it. And keep in mind now, we have 2 goals. The first goal is to eradicate the wild polio virus. The next goal is to eradicate the circulating virus. As you know, you can get polio from those who've had the vaccinations and have excreted in the environment, and children can pick that up that way. That's a circulating. Every time we know there's a circulating virus, we go in, we immediately go and immunize all the children in that particular region, no matter how many that is. That's part of where our funding goes, is for those immediate responses. So goal 1, the World Health Organization still believes that by December 31st, we could reach the end of the wild polio virus. But they also believe that could slip a little into next year. On the other hand, goal 2 is going to take longer. In spite of all of that, they are still predicting that 2026, we will see a certification of the elimination of polio off the face of the earth. That circulating virus has to be gone, just as the wild polio virus. We have done incredibly well. One of the questions that came up earlier was the 50 million. We have to raise that $50 million every year so that we can get the 2-to-1 match from Bill and Melinda Gates. If we only raise 40 million, they only give us 80 million. We've got to raise the 50 million. We've done it every single year, and we will continue to do that because Rotarians know how important this is to reach our target. And we will continue to do that. We have done so well with the donations over the years. We have now, just from Rotary alone, exceeded $1 billion, 1 billion with a B, in donations for polio eradication. Bill and Melinda Gates has also given us 1.2 billion. So we've really reached over $2 billion altogether, which is 1/6 of what the entire world has put together for eradicating polio. Rotarians, you are doing the job, and we've got to keep doing it. We've got to know we've got to keep immunizing 450 million children every single year. So please keep working. UNICEF is so proud to be a partner that they have invited us to a celebration in New York City at the end of January to celebrate the fact that we have given over $1 billion. I'd rather keep that celebration to when we see the certification, but let's take what we can while we can, because it keeps it in the minds of all of our organization. And this isn't easy stuff. Those health workers are working in difficult circumstances. In Yemen, where we still have to immunize because of the circulating virus. They've had 9 coups d'etat in the last 2 years. Changing the government that often makes everything much more difficult. We also have a new vaccine, the novel vaccine, which has significantly reduced the number of the circulating virus in those countries. We've dropped it from some 900 last year to 200 this year. That's great progress. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the CDC, UNICEF, WHO all came together at the International Polio Plus Committee meeting 2 weeks ago. What a fantastic opportunity for all the partners to sit around the same table and talk about where we are and how well we're doing, and that we're working together. And we asked tough questions to make sure we're really doing everything we can possibly do. One of the items that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation helps us with is research. And they have now developed or helped a company to develop the hexavalent vaccine, where in the future we'll be able to give 6 vaccines in one shot. That's a great benefit to the poor children who have to go through this over and over again as they're growing up and getting vaccines. We have to remember that those who are anti-vaxxers need to understand that everybody needs to get vaccinated so that we can save everybody. As long as there's one case of the wild polio virus out there, we are all at risk. We saw that last year when it hit New York, when it hit the United Kingdom, it hit Israel. We all are at risk, so we've got to finish this job. And we will. I believe strongly in what we're doing is the right, and what we're doing is we're going to get there. Everybody knows when you run the marathon, the last mile is the hardest. Well, we're on the last mile, and we are going to break that tape and show that we have finished the job. So thank you so much for all you do. Please keep making sure you get the clubs to give their 1,500, districts the 20% of DDF. Every individual, every member of this organization should give something to polio so everyone can stand up proud that we made the difference. So thank you for listening. I wish you all the best, and thank you for making sure we make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Chair Barry. It's exciting to listen to your story of your visit to Pakistan. For me, that really puts the plus in Polio Plus. It's what a lot of those funds that that we raised, that 50 million, that 2-to-1 match that comes from the Gates, goes towards assisting those vaccinations and those healthcare workers. The details of the amazing work that's going on in Pakistan and the commitment of the officials there to get rid of polio, extremely encouraging. And while I've never been on an NID or to visit an area like that, I'm often inspired by talks like yours and others who have had that experience, and to witness firsthand the incredible reaction from parents once the vaccines are given, and knowing that their children will be saved from the wild polio virus. What's more importantly is what you've told us about the commitment of the volunteers, at 300,000 that go out sometimes into very dangerous areas, and it's really encouraging to hear that the Army has considered this an emergency and are really providing the resources to protect those workers. And even more encouraging is that when someone like the gentleman that you've indicated that was injured, that we're able to step up and give that individual some sort of a financial pension to help carry on. And just to echo and to thank you for encouraging all of us to make those donations. That where else would anyone make $100 donation to any charity and get it matched 2-to-1? And because of the generosity of the Gates Foundation, we're able every year to reach that $150 million that's needed to carry out these great works. So thank you on behalf of the group. We appreciate all that you're doing to help us bring this battle to the finish line. It's now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, and that's my good friend Brenda Cressy. And Brenda joined Rotary in 1989 and is currently a member of the Rotary Club of South Portland, Cape Elizabeth in Rotary District 7780. She served as District 5240's governor in 2001 and 2, and is the retired CEO of Office Support Systems, a telecommunication business in Maine. Brenda has served in several key roles for Rotary International, the Rotary Foundation in 2018 as the first woman Rotary Foundation Trustees Chair. Most of Brenda's assignments have focused on fund development for the foundation, specifically in the area that she loves most, which is peace and polio eradication. However, she shares the importance of supporting the annual fund, endowment fund, and major gifts as well. Most recently, she was inspired by the amazing projects being carried out around the world, addressing the needs due to COVID-19 pandemic. You know, a lot of that is an offshoot of the great work that's being done by Polio. Brenda is a polio champion, a polio warrior, and has led the way for the foundation and the board in developing the Polio Plus societies, which we're implementing across the world now. Brenda has seen and experienced firsthand how gifts to the Rotary Foundation greatly impact on the lives of others, and how these gifts some days will bring peace around the world. She and her husband, Dick, are members of the Arch Clump Society, major donors, and members of the Paul Harris Society and Legacy Society. They have established the Brenda and Richard Cressy Endowment for Peace, supporting peace certification fellows. She's won many awards, including the RI Service Above Self Award, the Citation for Meritorious Service from the Foundation, and the Distinguished Service Award. Brenda currently lives in Wells, Maine, with her husband, Richard, who is retired from a long career as the Vice President of Manufacturing. My pleasure to give you Brenda Cressy.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Duncan. Special thanks to both you and Ingrid and Director Drew for organizing this event this evening. And Chair Barry, it's always a pleasure to hear you and the update and your impassioned words this evening on why we must keep our promise to the children of the world. Very heartfelt. Thank you. So good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you on World Polio Day to really celebrate the success that Rotarians have achieved while embarking on what's our #1 priority: to eradicate polio from the face of the earth. Yes, it's been a long journey, but we have saved and protected millions of children from having to live or even die from the disease. Back in 1989, it was the idea of eradicating polio that brought me not only to join Rotary, but continues to keep me involved in the eradication of polio. You see, when learning this was Rotary's #1 focus back then, it brought me back to my early childhood in the 50s and thinking about my little neighborhood friend, Susie. She had contracted polio and sadly passed away. To be honest, I hadn't thought about her for years until hearing about Rotary's efforts to protect children around the globe from polio. And I, like many, didn't even realize polio still existed. Certainly it wasn't here in the US. So shortly after joining Rotary, I learned from then incoming president, Cliff Docterman, who happened to be a speaker at our district conference that year, when he shared that Rotarians around the world had just raised $240 million towards the global effort, having a goal of 120 million. Now, that told me that Rotary was really serious about this. And it was that I committed myself that very day to try to be part of the solution, by somehow helping to prevent anyone else from contracting this disease. I'd like to share a story about Rotary's efforts to eradicate polio, a story that was written by my grandnephew more than 10 years ago. His name is Micah. He was 8 years old and he was in the 3rd grade. His older sister was stricken with cerebral palsy at birth. And at the time, his mom, my niece, was against any kind of immunization. So one summer, her family visited with us, and Micah overheard me talking with his mom about Rotary's work and polio. I noticed that he was very curious, and he sat just a little bit closer to us. But I was quite surprised. About 3 months later, I received a call from his mom to say that Micah wanted to talk with me about polio and how he wanted to write a story for his class project. He asked how we could find more information and what could he use to focus his topic on. Well, I suggested to him to learn more about the Purple Pinky Project. And so we did. And this is Micah's polio story in his own words. He wrote, "My story is on a project by Rotary International. Rotary was formed by a Chicago lawyer named Paul Harris. The purpose of their foundation is to promote peace, fight disease, provide clean water, save mothers and children, support education, and grow local economies." In 1917, Rotary President Arch C. Clump proposed endowments for the purpose of doing good in the world. In 1929, their first gift of $500 was given the International Society for Crippled Children, which later grew to be Easter Seals. In 1978, Rotary introduced the Health, Hunger, and Humanity 3H grants. The first grants funded the immunization of 6 million Philippine children against polio. In 1985, the Polio Plus program was launched to eradicate polio worldwide. Then in March 2014, India was declared polio-free when hundreds of children per day used to get infected. Rotary was a big reason for this by sending 300,000 volunteers to deliver vaccines over the past 3 years. Polio is a virus that attacks the spinal cord and can cause muscle paralysis that can affect the legs and even stop a person from breathing. In 1952, there was a polio outbreak in the USA, which affected over 58,000 people that year and killed or crippled almost 25,000 of them. In 1957, Dr. Jonas Salk introduced the first successful polio vaccine, which is still used today in the effort to eradicate polio. Rotary has helped immunize more than 2 billion children against polio in over 122 countries for only 60 cents per child. Sometimes with 1 million children vaccinated in a couple of days, it's impossible to keep track of children that get vaccinated. So they began coloring the pinkies of vaccinated children purple. And this has now become a movement called the Purple Pinky Project, to make sure that every child is vaccinated and to bring awareness to the suffering that polio can cause. Micah continues and writes, "Ending polio is an achievement we can reach, but it takes awareness, volunteers, and money. You can join the Rotary in their international goal of eradicating polio by going to endpolio.org and donate or read about how you can get involved. Coloring your pinky purple is a way to spread the word." Now, I have to say that Micah's story and his effort to create awareness with his classmates continue to inspire me. That day, Micah showed pictures of young children who were referred to as crawlers, which sadly elicited some giggles from his classmates. I learned from his mom, who was there that day, that he immediately stood up straight and tall and he said, "That is not funny. How would you like to be one of those children?" Of course, being a very sensitive child, he remembered that his own sister couldn't walk because of cerebral palsy. In no way was he going to let his classmates be mean. So friends and family of Rotary, thank you for joining us this evening. Because you're here tonight, we know that you are committed to our cause. Please share your stories, or the story of my friend Susie, or share Micah's story. Today we have a call to action. Each year, Rotarians are asked to raise awareness, as well as that $50 million that Barry spoke of, to leverage that incredible and generous match from the Gates Foundation. To date, yes, we have raised $2.5 billion. That includes the Gates match. Funding comes in many ways due to the creative and fun raising ideas. Fun runs, the ride to end polio, Pints for Polio, flights around the world, purple pinkies, purple donuts, the world's greatest meal, and of course, the Polio Plus Society. The trustees endorsed the idea of a district-led Polio Plus Society at their October 22 meeting, and I'm especially honored to lead this incredible, successful initiative. I'm happy to say that our End Polio Now coordinators, Duncan Conrad and Eric Deneau, who are here tonight, have reported that all or most districts in our two zones, 28 and 32, have either initiated or refreshed the Polio Plus Society, and they have already achieved great success. We are the leaders around the world, and many other districts have joined in this initiative. This district-led effort is the key to success of asking each Rotarian to consider a gift of $100 or more each year in support of polio eradication. Each district has the ability to set their own level of giving and types of recognition, which makes sense because $100 here in North America may not be achievable in all regions around the globe. So many districts have already begun to set up their Polio Plus societies, the Rotaract, and even Interact clubs. And yes, we have districts on the West Coast of the United States who have successfully set up what is called, believe it or not, the Kennel Club, where you can name your pet with an annual commitment to Polio Plus. Today, we've already seen increased giving at the club, district, and individual levels. And we actually realized an increase of over $5 million last year. Club participation and individual participation continue to rise. Friends and family of Rotary, thank you. Thank you for your continued support by being a member of the Polio Plus Society, and using Rotary Direct is the easiest way to ensure your commitment. I want to end tonight, if I may, Ingrid, with a quote from John Durham, past Rotary International president. He said, "In Rotary, when we dream, we get behind our dream with everything we can muster. We have always risen to challenges, and now it's more important than ever for us to rise again with courage, defeat polio once and for all." Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brenda. I love that story, particularly as a teacher at heart. Love that story about the grade 3 nephew. But also, yes, the Polio Plus Society has certainly garnered an upswing this past year, and that's partly due to you and your inspirational words. Thank you very much. I now have the pleasure of introducing a video our past Rotary International president of last year, Jennifer Jones, could not be with us this evening. She's actually in Ottawa, working with a number of other leaders, trying to encourage a donation and an awareness, of course, of our polio campaign with government officials. You know, some of you know that the Canadian government had supported the polio campaign in the past with a substantial donation, and we're hoping that we will receive that once again. The video is quite in line with what Trustee Chair Barry was sharing with us, and also Brenda's comments. So I'm going to ask Bruce to please play Jennifer's video.
मैं इस काम को लीड करती हूँ। एज ए वर्कर मैं बच्चों को पोलियो के कतरे जो है ना ठंडे दो वो मैं पिलाती हूँ। मैं कहती हूँ जैसे हमारे लिए पानी ज़रूरी है ना, इसलिए हमारे बच्चों के लिए ये वैक्सीन ज़रूरी है।
ऐसे हैं आप लोग सब, हमारी कैंपेन का आज पहला दिन है। आपको पता है हमारी हर कैंपेन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट होती है, इसी वजह आप लोगों को पता होगा कि हमारे पास।
I've seen so many amazing things in my life as a Rotarian, but nothing compared to 9 days in Pakistan, observing what it takes to reach every last child. My optimism in this program has never been higher, and that's because there are so many people out there who it's not 9 days, it's 9 months, it's 9 years. They've been in it for the long haul. When we went to the first house and knocked on the door and it opened, walked in.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, क्या हाल है, कैसी हैं, तबीयत से ठीक है?
To be able to see firsthand what the workers were doing inside of that home. It's the mum to mum, it's the building of trust, and it's so much bigger than polio. We're looking for opportunity for women to gain and garner trust with each other. I can't thank them enough for what they do. With grace and with leadership. I'm really excited to be able to learn from you. How have you seen a difference in polio vaccinations from when you started to where we are now?
मैं 2012 से इस पोलियो वर्कर में टीम में हूँ, यहाँ पे काम कर रही हूँ। अभी काफ़ी फ़र्क है। पहले हम घर जाते थे, कभी बच्चे को पिलाते थे, कभी छोड़ देते बच्चे को, यानी चलो बच्चे फेरे वो नहीं पिलाएंगे, कुछ भी नहीं होगा। अभी तो बहुत ज़रूरी है, घर जाकर बच्चे का पूरा डेटा लेते हैं। अगर कोई बच्चा हमसे रह भी जाते हैं, हम दोबारा जाके उनको पिलाते, वैक्सीन करते।
We're out in the field immunizing children, and these door-to-door health workers are carrying a paper register, filling out all of the data. It goes back into a center where it's digitized and put into, a data collection area. I am absolutely amazed at the level of accuracy that happens.
This is one of the child, age 16 months, house number, and the number of round missed. These are the persistent children. So
how they take that data and drill it right down to a home, to a community, to a child who's refused, who we need to go back to. It is to a finite science, and I was blown away by seeing the level of intensity of what we're seeing at the National Emergency Operations Center, our partners there, what they've been able to accomplish, what we've all been able to accomplish. We're in good hands, both from a decision-making perspective and from a frontline perspective. There's a lot of women who are integrated into the campaign throughout in leadership roles as well. Everything from decision makers at the National Emergency Operations Center to doctors to the health minister. And seeing those things up close and personal was really impactful for me. We need to understand that every piece of advocacy that we can do, every story that we can tell, every door we can open, every dollar we can raise, it goes towards making sure that these children that I've just been in the field with are going to walk.
हम ये चाहते हैं कि हमारे जो ठंडे कतरे जो है ना हर बच्चे के मुंह तक पहुंचे, ताकि कोई बच्चा मजदूर ना रहे और पोलियो फ्री हमारा पाकिस्तान हो जाए.
I want our Rotary family to know that the end is in sight. I want our Rotary family to know that their work has meant something and that it means something. But I also want everyone to know we're not done, and we need to be vigilant.
Amazing. Was that just not amazing to see that level of detail? Barry talked about it, and we see it again in this video. I think it's just so inspirational for us to know the work that's being done by all these thousands and thousands of workers in these affected countries. We now have some time for interactions, and Duncan is going to explain the process that we're going to use to have questions from our audience. Duncan.
Thank you, Ingrid. If you, our participants, if you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little symbol for Q&A. So it's unlike your Zoom meeting. You're going to type your questions into the Q&A area. We have two of our colleagues, Diane and Eric, who are going to monitor those. And then we'll alternate in terms of identifying the questions that will be posed to our panel. So I'm going to now reach out to Diane to see if there's a question in the Q&A box.
Thank you, Duncan. There are a couple that Barry has answered, but in case people haven't read them, I will go ahead and talk about them. It talks about the vaccine. The first one is about the variants, what is being done about the 3 variants. And then Barry, perhaps you could answer that as well as add on to it discussion about the new novel vaccine that you answered as well. Thank you.
Yes, the novel vaccine is used specifically to help with the circulating virus because it is genetically created so that it has a much better impact on not producing a circulating virus. So the novel virus has really been very successful. It's not 100%, but it's 95%. So it has reduced the number of cases significantly. So novel virus is really important to us. We still have outbreaks, not of the wild polio virus, but of the circulating from type 1, 2, and 3. But mostly it's just one of the types. And as an example, in the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, if all 3 could be breaking out, you cannot go in and immunize against all 3 at the same time because the vaccine has evolved so much. We have to actually go in and do a campaign, then go back and do a campaign on the next one, and then on the next one. It's a constant effort to stay on top of these. One thing I was pleased to hear from the World Health Organization was that they are very confident in the surveillance and knowing exactly how much of the surveillance that it's covering everything. We know where the virus is happening. We know where the circulation is, and we can jump on it right away. So we're getting really good data from what's going on.
Thank you, Barry. Eric, is there another question?
Yes, one of the questions is there's 9 cases now of the wild polio virus. Does that change our projections, and will that affect our funding, and how's that related?
Yeah, it won't affect our funding for the simple reason that we must continue the funding anyway. That's going to continue into the future, even up to and past certification. So we're going to have to be committed to this for the long term. What date that is, I don't know. WHO feels even though there's 9 cases, they still believe that certification will take place in 2026. So they're very confident, and we're certainly there with them every step of the way. We don't believe that there's going to be slippage, but all that being said, let's face it, we're very fragile in this, and that's the term the WHO and our leaders are using. If the Boko Haram, for instance, in Nigeria don't let us in and we can't immunize, then it's hard to stop it. Same with the Taliban. Right now, the Taliban provides some security for us in Pakistan, but not in Afghanistan. Those difficult areas makes it very fragile. But that being said, UNICEF, CDC, WHO all believe that we are on target, might slip a little, but they believe that we're going to finish by 2026. But we must keep that 50 million coming, certainly up until that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Diane, any other questions in the Q&A?
Yes, I would direct this to Barry as well, and I'll combine two of them. Can you explain why women in particular are so important as vaccinators? And also, how many times do you have to vaccinate each child?
I'll answer the second one first. For those in healthy countries where the child has good nutrition, then, once, and we have to do it again maybe every year or two. But in a country where you have extreme poverty and children do not have nutrition, the virus literally goes through their system and gets flushed out pretty quickly. So in those areas, we have to get to them every 3 months or so, 3, 4, 5 months, but certainly no more than that, or they've lost all the protection that they have. And that's also why there's a circulating virus, because it is getting flushed out of their system. So that's really important, that without good nutrition, and I believe that's another project that Rotary should be working on, is making sure that we improve the nutrition in those areas that need it. In Pakistan, the difficult area, if we can get them good water, good health care, we can finish this job. So polio eradication goes beyond just the vaccine itself. It's taking care of the community. Women health workers are extremely important because they are able to go into the house where men can't in some cases. The women trust each other more than they trust the man coming in. So their ability to reach the children is much greater. When you only have men doing it, then quite often, like in Afghanistan, they're bringing the children to the mosque and we're doing the immunizations at the mosque. But that means you could miss some because you're not going house to house. With women out there, we're able to go house to house and the women can reach the children. They're trusted better by the children and by the mothers. That's a reality. So it's really important for us to continue supporting the women doing the vaccination.
Thank you very much. Eric, we have time for one more question. Is there another one in the box?
Yeah, absolutely. One talks about the NIDs. Are they continuing, and are they continuing to have some of the COVID integration that was occurring in the past couple of years? If so, can you explain what that looks like? And if not, can you explain why that's not continuing?
Sorry, I missed a part of that. Could you repeat it?
Yeah, sure. It's talking about NIDs are continuing to have some of the COVID integration, and is that continuing?
Yes, we did a national NID in Pakistan this month, and we're doing 2 subnationals. They have to continue for the long term, not necessarily every month, but from time to time, we're going to have to do national immunization days, because you've got to reach every child. And as I said, with the bad nutrition, you've got a lot in that category. Therefore, you've got to reach a lot. So that's got to keep happening. That will happen over time, and we will keep it going. And if there's a big outbreak anywhere with the circulating virus, it's the same thing. You have to jump in and just take care of that as one quick response.
Will it have that COVID integration with it, Barry?
What we've created, Rotary along with our partners, is an infrastructure that is really a health infrastructure to help, and truly is Polio Plus. That will continue. Even when polio is gone, I believe the same infrastructure will stay in place in these countries so that we can deal with COVID, Ebola, whatever the next pandemic comes. We have an infrastructure we've created, and we don't want that to be demolished. We want that to be there to help with other situations. So yes, we're still using it for COVID. We had an outbreak of Ebola last year, and that was what contained it and brought it to what it needed to be. So we've done a lot with polio plus, with the plus, whether it's other diseases or other activities around eradicating polio. And I think that's what's going to be our legacy for the long term, as well as eradicating polio. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Barry.
Wow. Well, it looks like we would have liked to have had time for more questions. We will look at the questions that are left in the Q&A chat and see if we can get some answers out to you. I'd like to now ask Brenda and Barry to just give a very brief closing comment on our session today. So Brenda, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I just really enjoy the activity that's happening each and every year on World Polio Day. More and more people, clubs are coming together, trying to find ways, new ways to incentivize the members, to create awareness in their communities, as I mentioned earlier, in fun and different ways. And I think that's why I so enjoy World Polio Day, and I look forward to it each year. I do hope that every Rotarian reaches out to a friend, a fellow Rotarian, invites them to join the Polio Plus Society. We just heard from Chair Barry that we're going to need funding long before the end of this year. And that's okay, because Barry, we have a lot of supporters out there.
Great.
And they're going to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Barry, brief comment from you.
Thank you. We have to remember that this is our number one priority as an organization. We've been at it for a lot longer than we ever thought we would, but we've got to finish the job. We made a promise to the children, like Brenda said, and we keep our promises. You know, in some of my speeches, I talk about the song, The Impossible Dream. We had the impossible dream, but Rotary never just dreams. Rotary also takes action, because we are people of action. We must continue raising our 50 million. And it's okay to raise more than that, by the way. You're welcome to do more. But we've got to raise at least 50 million so that we get the match every year. Really critical to what we do. But keep in mind, every one of us have to do it. My disappointment is only 12% of members of this organization last year donated to polio eradication. That's just wrong. I'm sorry. Our organization, every single member should stand up and donate something. Rotarians, Rotaractors, give something so that you are truly a part of the eradication of this horrible disease for children. So let's keep at it. Let's stay strong. Don't get down because it's taken so long. Let's get the job done, and let's smile at the end of the day and say, we've saved over 200 million children from that crippling disease.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's awesome. On behalf of Duncan and I, we want to thank everyone, certainly our speakers, for your inspiring words and your information, our assistants. We also want to say a special thank you to our communication couples, Sue and Bruce Golson, for their assistance tonight. And of course, a heartfelt thank you to everyone, because our call to action, you've heard it. You've heard it from Brenda, you've heard it from Barry, and I'm going to add to it. Take this positive energy that we've shared tonight, the information, take that surge of energy back to your clubs, to your communities, and let us all together cross this finish line. The last words are going to be a quote from Barry. Our efforts to make the world a better place should reach beyond our time on Earth. We can do this together. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.